Okay, we are recording and I'll begin. Hi, welcome. I'm Larissa Davis, the Soul Path artist, and welcome to the Healing Pathways interview series. My guest today is Leah Guzman, who is a very talented artist and also is trained as a board-certified art therapist. And that's what particularly, I guess both things attract me to your art, your successful art career, and your background with art therapy and your use of art therapy. So Leah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Larissa, for having me and thinking of me to be on here. I'm excited about our conversation.
Me too. Well, you're such a wonderful, I love what you're doing on Facebook, and you have that wonderful Facebook group where you're always on there sharing wonderful information, and just the breadth of what you do is very inspiring to me. But today specifically, I would love to dive into art therapy because, as I was saying before we started recording, art therapy has been such a wonderful tool for me in my own healing process. And I'd like to hear about what attracted you to art therapy, how it has helped you on your own personal healing journey, and how you use it in your practice.
Awesome. Yeah. Just to give you a little history of kind of like how I started.
Yeah.
I've always been an artist at heart. And I mean, I've even had like psychics tell me like, you've been an artist past lives. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Nice.
So life, I get to like come out and share it.
Yeah.
But it hasn't always that I've been able to put my art out there and share it. So I'll just kind of start off with, it was in high school. I had actually a really turbulent time in high school where I moved around a lot, and it was really rough for me to just be okay with transitioning so much, because I went to like 3 different high schools and making friends and all that kind of stuff. So, but it made me dive into art because I really didn't have friends at that time, and I was just really into making art. And I put my work out there, and one of the judges saw it and said, "What are you into?" And I was like, well, I'm really into art and psychology and all that kind of stuff. And she sent me this article about this little boy who had cancer, and he was in the hospital, and who had an art therapist. And our therapist had him draw out little Pac-Man to eat away the cancer cells.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was giving him power when he felt powerless.
Yeah.
And the little boy went through remission, and he was healed. And I just thought that was such a beautiful story that I was like, wow, I could do that. I could help people, because I could see it already, like in high school, that art was healing me. It was my outlet. It was kind of like my go-to, that I was doing it for myself. So I knew that when I had left high school that I wanted to get my master's in art therapy, because I had to have my undergraduate before I can like actually study art therapy. So I just dove into my art, and it was great. I mean, it was 4 years of college. I went to the San Francisco Art Institute, and I went to Georgia State University, and I just really got to play and have a great time. So that part was really great. And then I moved, I got my master's in Tallahassee at Florida State University. I focused on that. And then basically when I graduated, I went ahead and I got a job. I got a job helping at-risk youth in the school system. And I've been doing that for 15 years now. I can believe it's been that long, but
Wow.
I've been doing that for a really long time. And there was like, when I first started doing it, I mean, it's really intense. I mean, it's like carrying someone's emotions, especially if they've had so much trauma. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
And it was such a learning experience. My first few years of doing it is that, not taking it home, carrying that energy with me, not knowing what to do with it. And I got really, really lost, because what was happening was, I mean, I had just gotten married. I had 2 children. They were very like small at the time. And so I was kind of giving everywhere, of giving at my work, giving to my family, but I wasn't giving to myself. And so it became like a really, really tough time where I wasn't, doing my art. I mean, there was so much time in a day. And it wasn't until my daughter was about 3 years old that I realized, like, oh my goodness, I was waking up in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and I would just go like hide in the bathroom and start drawing. And I was like, what am I doing? I was just like, my soul was making me get up, and it was like finding time just like, just do your art, just do your art. And so it was getting louder and louder. I was like, oh my gosh, I do need sleep. And I knew, and it was a time where, I mean, I had to go get art therapy for myself because I was just like, what is going on with me? Emotionally, I was just drained. I was just, overwhelmed again. Kind of reminded me of like how I was in high school, but I was like, I got help, and I went to an art therapist, and it really helped me because I mean, kind of organize all the feelings I had, because I mean, I had a really full life. Everything's awesome, but just emotionally, my soul wasn't being fed.
Yeah.
So it helped me get back into what I wanted to manifest and get back into taking care of myself, extreme self-care. And it kind of put me back on that track of what I really wanted to do. It was kind of like my wake-up call of saying, hey, you do make art, you can make art, you just got to figure out the timing. And then I figured out a schedule where I could be consistent on making my art. And that's when I was like, I can also sell my art and, make money from this and continue my practice in art therapy and feed myself. So it was it was a really great awakening for me, because it started to make me realize all the parts of me that why I wasn't feeding myself. It woke me up to where my insecurities were, where where I needed to heal as well.
Yeah. It's such powerful work. So are there some exercises that stand out to you from your own personal work that you went through at that time that got you back on track that you found particularly helpful?
Yeah, I mean, well, since I practice it every day, because I do it every day, of really just getting in touch with your emotions, really having your own verbal language with your art, because your art has so many messages and can tell you so much. So it's getting really intimate with that, and intimate of, what message does your art say? And even with the colors, the colors that you're choosing, they're all very personal, and what do those colors mean to you? So one experience that really kind of stands out to me when I think back, my art therapist wanted me to, I can't remember the actual directive, but what I created stands out, because it was like, what do you need at this time? And I created this house that had my family and me in it, and then the other side of the house was a studio. And at that time, I didn't have a studio. I was going in the bathroom at night, so no one would like see the lights on. I didn't know where to go. And I was like, I need a space. I need a space to create. And it was kind of like that wake up call. Like when I made that house, I was like, oh, this is what I want. And it was so funny because we lived in such a small house at the time, and we were getting I was getting all these signs of like, we need to move. Like, we don't fit here anymore. There's too many of us in the small house.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling the house. And when we talk about like manifesting, it was amazing, because everything that I said that I wanted in a house, like I want a pool, I want an extra room for my studio, I want this, I want that, we got it all. Like, I was just like, how powerful is when you can get really clear about what you want, and then how you can manifest it. So I would just remember creating that, and not just being in a fog and saying, wow, well, I think this is what I need. I need this little room. And I got it. I was like, I got my little room in my house.
I so love your story of making art in the bathroom, though. It's like singing in the shower, like you have to go to that little private place, and at least
I was just trying to find it.
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do, but then keeping that vision alive, like creating that. There's such power in, I guess that's what I love about that aspect of art therapy, where you're asking yourself those questions and allowing the answers to come through. And sort of what you just said about color really made me go, oh, interesting. Because my colors are incredibly vibrant. Everybody who sees my art is like, they don't know I'm in, like, I'll go to art shows. You were talking about going to art shows and fairs and stuff. And sometimes I'm not in the booth, and that my friend or my husband is there. And, they'll come back and they'll be like, everyone wants to know what drugs you're taking. I'm like, yeah, no drugs, right? But for some reason, really, really vibrant colors. And your color schemes are very soothing, I find, and elegant and grounding. You use some beautiful golds and teals and silvers, and just a lovely palette. But I imagine there's more than what I've seen, that you must have quite a variety depending on what the piece is communicating.
Most definitely. I honestly, like, when I even look back how many like stages my art has gone through, even when I was in college, I remember my art was actually really scary. Like, I think it was just like a cathartic phase of just
Yeah.
like, I knew I needed to create, and I was just creating. But the stuff was pretty scary. Like,
Mhm. You know, that's interesting.
and
Yeah.
then it's gone through different stages. Like, when I didn't create, and then I started creating it. My colors. Where's my dog? My colors were very bright, vibrant as well. Like, I went through. Like, I really did. I was drawn to a lot of reds, and at that time, I needed to be grounded. I mean, it was
Mm.
just. It was very. Now I look back, I can see it clearly. Like,
Right.
I had like red rugs, I had red curtains, red pillows. It was just where I was at the time, and but everything evolves, you know. Like, I
It
feel like
does. Yeah.
my palette is different now. Yeah, I do love golds and turquoises, and like my house has a lot of those colors too.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of where I'm at. But that's just so fun about art, is because when you think of like, what is it going to be like 20 years from now? Where am I going to be, and what am I going to surround myself with? You know?
Right. Right. I mean, that resonates so much with when I think I went to art school for 1 year, and then life circumstances took me out of school for a few years. And when I went back, the left brain had really kicked in and was like, well, what are you doing getting an art degree? So I didn't continue with art at that time. But the artwork that I have from that time, the stuff that I remember, was also really scary. I was working through a lot of crap. But that was way before I knew anything about using art as a place to manifest,
Mhm.
which is really where, like, that totally turned art around for me. It went from being something that was either pain, right? Like, in those years, it was that outlet for the internal pain that I couldn't express any other way.
Mhm.
And then it became, later in my life, when it sort of disappeared for a while, but whenever I would do it, I felt like it had to be perfect. It had to be really, really realistic. And, now to where it's completely expressionistic. And sometimes I'll have some self-portraiture in there that's more realistic, but just a lot much looser style. So you're right, it does evolve. It's really interesting, the story it tells. And I don't think we know necessarily the story, like you said, until we're away from it a little bit and we can
Mhm.
see the evidence of what was going on there. And I guess that's where art therapy can be really helpful, right? Because as an art therapist, you can look at those things and reflect and say, oh, well, this is what I see,
Mhm.
and help relay some of those symbolisms and messages to the people that you work with.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I mean, I remember in college, I was really into creating hearts, and I was
Mm.
into foundry work. So I was doing like heavy metal
Oh, wow.
bronzing, like doing castings and things like that. And I had made this bronze heart, and it was like really symbolic of how heavy it was. It's just, that's where I felt, because I was always carrying everything in my heart.
Mm.
So I still have that piece, and I always think like that was definitely like the time capsule of
Wow.
that. So yeah,
Yeah.
but when I work with people, I mean, I do see it within their art, but I don't actually, I, I won't like project my own thoughts or feelings on
Mm.
it. I'm there to just kind of, just ask the questions for them to have that insight, you
Oh,
know?
that's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I could think of this one person that I'm working with, and they want to have a complete like transition, like a sex change transition.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing a lot of body work, body tracing, and this person just wanted to like erase their chest area, like they
Mm.
were like just putting paints of stripes and stripes, and that's the first surgery they went to have. And then I, questioning them about it, and they didn't even realize that that's what they were doing. They were just,
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
they were just like, oh wow, I didn't realize they were like really just trying to get rid of it.
That is so intense.
Yeah, because you don't see it, and that's what I think is so important. I think this is one thing that I really want people to hear, is that it is important to have someone hold space for you, because you can be in it and creating, like as an artist, you can be in it, but then that reflection and really being able to see what's going on
Mm-hmm.
is really powerful. And you might
Mm-hmm.
not be able to see it, like you said, you have to like kind of step
Yeah.
away, walk away for a while. But it takes a lot within us to be able to get help too, or to ask for someone, to hold space for you to
Yeah.
to ask those questions and to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, on another topic, which I'm sure connects to all of this, I know a lot of the things that I've seen you do online are around the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me about your experience with the working with the chakras and how how that folds into everything for you.
Yeah, well, actually, when I went through the whole transition of when I wasn't creating art, and then when I started getting back into art, I was doing a lot of yoga. I've always loved yoga. I mean, I started practicing when I was like 18, and I've been like on and off my mat for many years. But when I got back into it, I was doing a lot of yoga and just being really sensitive to energies, because I knew that I was taking home a lot of other people's energies, and just knowing that I needed to like release, and just seeing it within myself or what needed to be healed or balanced. So like I was mentioning before, like I hold a lot of things in my heart, and I at the time, I don't say that I'm like a recovering people pleaser, so I'm always like
Oh, yeah.
giving kind of person. But then at the time, I wasn't giving back to myself, so it was kind of like this backlash of being very angry that I wasn't, listening to my soul and following that path. Um, and it also has to do with just realizing I was carrying that within my stomach as well. So when I started really looking at where I was holding the energy in my body, and then seeing that relationship with the chakras, because the more that I researched it and kept reading books about it, and started using the tools to balance them and to strengthen them, I mean, I could just see the tweaks. I could see the things changing within me, and my art was changing. Like I was saying, I was using a lot of red at that time, and then once I was able to get grounded, I was shifting. Right now I'm using a lot of I would say like bright blue, more of like golds and turquoises. It's more about like more expressing myself or putting myself out there. So it's like matching the throat chakra. So when I started to see those relationships happening, I was also starting to see it within my students that I work with. I work with people online, I do art therapy online, and I see people at my studio. I could see it within their own work. And so when I was like, explaining to them and giving them the tips, they were able to see a transition within themselves. So basically the energy running up is like liberating, it's like this up energy. And then for manifesting, it's this down energy. So you want to be able to have that balance. So being able to clear any excess energy, or maybe you need to get, because it's either moving too fast, the chakra is moving too fast, unbalanced, or it's moving too slow. So you just kind of have to see what patterns in your life, what behaviors are happening. And it's like a check yourself of, okay, what do I need to work on? And being able to balance it. And then once you're able to get that balance of healing and releasing and getting there, then that's when that manifestation can start to happen. Because it seems like everyone that I work with, even with myself, it's like we always want something, but they're like, well, how do I get there? Well, how do I get from here to there? And it's like, okay, well, we got to do the inside work. And so it's like, once we're able to get that energy, once we're able to get that vibration, that frequency within us, then we're able to manifest it. So that's the part that I just find so fascinating, because the more that I play with it, experiment with it, the more it happens. And I think that I think the biggest lesson the past year or two has been for like letting go. So that's like that crown chakra of, yes, I want something, and I'll put it out there, and then just not have any expectation. And once I'm able to like really let it go, it's like smack in my face. It's the crazy thing. I'll tell you, like my dog, I have a dog now. I got a dog like 2 weeks ago. We've been looking for a dog for a while. Like we've been wanting one, not actually going to the pound or anything, but like we wanted one, and we just haven't like made it happen. And last May, a friend of mine commissioned me to do this like pet portrait for her niece, who's like obsessed with her dog. So I was like, okay, I'll do this portrait for you. So I did it and I sent it off. This whole time we're like looking, oh, okay. And then like a month ago, my husband like sends me this picture of a dog, and he's like, what about this one? I was like, okay, it's a rescue pup. It had like a broken leg. It just got its cast off. We got it. He's great. And it was so amazing. Like a week ago, I was going through my phone, looking at old photos. The portrait that I had done for my friend back in May, the exact portrait of my dog. I was
No way.
oh, I swear to God. I totally forgot about it, and I manifested it. I showed my husband. I was like, look, I will show you right now, but I'm using my phone right now.
Right,
And I was
yeah.
like, this is my dog. This is the picture. Like, it's an exact match.
That's incredible.
It is. It's like the simplest things can be so powerful when you can like put it out there and then let go. Because that was like for me, it's like I think I was like into more of like that controlling and like, when is this going to happen? How is it going to happen?
Right.
And when I'm able to like let it go, then it's able to manifest itself. So
wow.
It's really fun. It's like it's a really fun experiment.
That's incredible.
I have a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, I know. I remember reading your story about your trip to Colorado, was it? For your ski trip? That was another one where you said you were just feeling good and everything just clicked into place for you.
Yes.
So
the
that's
more
really
that you're able to let go, it'll happen.
Yeah, that's really, really wonderful. So what are some ways that you have found to identify areas in terms of energy in the chakras where people are having issues? Is there like any easy way? I know you have an online chakra quiz, right, that you've developed?
Yeah, well, actually, I borrowed it from Anodia Judith. She wrote The Wheels of Life, which she's amazing. She's like the chakra woman. So it's her self-test, and basically I turned it into a quiz that you can do online because it was in her book.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be accessible to people so they can check themselves, because it's like a rating scale, and then it relates to your life, it relates to your habits, and what's happening in your life and your feelings. And yeah, you could check it off and see the numbers of like what's stronger versus what needs weakening. And then I've interviewed a lot of people who have taken it, because I'm curious. I'm like, well, do you see this happening? And then I'll give them the tools to say, hey, you can tweak this. And they've seen, it's like magic happens. Like when you actually do the work.
Right.
Right. So that's one way
and that's on your website.
Yes.
Is that right? How people can find that?
Yeah, if you subscribe to leahguzman.com, you'll be able to access it. Yeah, and I just feel that it's important to check yourself, because we can get out of balance, out of whack very easily. I mean, just going to the store and having an interaction with somebody that wasn't very pleasant, you could be like, oh, what happened? And you're like, you got to check yourself to get back in alignment. But then that's life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's that little teeter-totter.
And it shows up in your art too. So it's like it's unconscious. It'll show up.
So speaking of art and sort of back to art therapy, is there an exercise that you would recommend people could do that would be helpful for them? Just sort of generally I don't know. I want to leave it open to you. I don't want to put any limitations on it, but I'd love to offer people who are watching this something that they could try on their own in addition to your quiz.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I could just touch upon, because something that we discussed earlier is getting in touch with your colors of if you're already an artist, or if you're not an artist and you're interested in dabbling and finding out more about what's resonating with you and kind of like your own energy and things like that. Just picking up some paints or oil crayons are really nice. So nice and creamy. And just like start playing with your colors and start to see which color, give it a name for like the feeling. So like what would gold represent for you? What would green represent for you? What would yellow represent? And just name each one, so that you're starting that relationship with yourself and with your art, so that you could say, okay, well, this is kind of the feeling that I want to create. It might be that you need to just get something out, and that's totally fine. You have to know where you're at as well, because if you need to have a cathartic experience, like let it happen, right? But if you also want to manifest something, you can use your art is so powerful. Like I was just talking about my dog story. I mean, I do this all the time. I have online programs for art of manifesting where I teach people like how to use their art to be incredibly powerful, because I kind of look at it, it's like a vision board, but I feel like vision boards are very overwhelming. because people take over everything they want. Oh, no, I want this, and it's just like this big modge podge.
Right.
Like, oh my God, I can't even look at that because it's just so much going on. So I like to like separate things. Like even when I like do vision board like classes, I would like, okay, we're going to focus on this is one section and this is one section. And I make like an accordion board because you're all your desires can happen, but you have to give it some time and space. So if you want to manifest something and you want to bring something into your life, whether it's a feeling, a relationship, it's a house, it's a pet, it's
job, right? Yeah.
It's just being even more specific of and just doing one painting about it. Like really, like if you want that beautiful house, like just paint a beautiful picture of where it is, and as many details as you can, and put it in there. And that love, that feeling, that frequency will be held in that painting, and it can match you back. So it's kind of like you're co-creating with the universe to make it happen. So I think that's really powerful too. It's just like how I told you the story about like I didn't know what I needed, but I drew that house with the studio that was connected.
Right.
And it happened. Then that's how it happens. You think about what is it that you need, what is it that you want to feel, and you can create that. So yeah, just paint about it. Just you can bring it into reality.
That's great. So I love the idea of naming the colors. That's like so cool. Like I want to go up and put labels on my paint tubes right now with what they represent to me or how I would name them. That's wonderful.
Yeah, because when you're co-creating with the universe to bring something down to like manifest it, you have to know what frequency it is, right? You want to know what that vibration is, and everything is matched, right? So whatever it is that you want, that has a feeling, right? And so if it has that feeling, then give it a color, like match it with that color, so that you can bring it even closer to you and fill yourself, your surroundings with it.
Yeah.
Because the more that you're around it, it's easier for it to come to you.
That's wonderful. Now, you said two things. Was the second thing what you were talking about with painting or creating specifically what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So defining, your colors and what they mean, and then specifically what you want, and put that feeling within it as well. So I think that is really important, because then if you know your colors and you know the feelings that go with it, then you can take that and put it into the painting that whatever it is that you want to manifest.
Right. And I think for people who are intimidated by the idea of creating, something realistic or specifically like, creating their house, that's when the vision board and grabbing magazines and collaging can be really helpful. But like you said, incorporating some painting with the colors or the oil pastels or whatever in the colors that represent the feeling that you're going to have when you have that thing in your life, that new house or whatever it is. Yeah.
Act as if it's already here.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that I think is what when you were talking about releasing, was sort of, it's like a trusting that, okay, I've said what I want. I have spent, hours on this piece of art, meditating on this thing being here, and now it's done. And I'm going to go about my business, and it'll be here when it's ready. So, yeah, I think the analogy that Abraham Hicks uses is about planting a seed. And, when you plant that seed, you don't stand around stomping and complaining, like, why isn't it here yet? It takes some time to germinate.
Yes. I love Abraham Hicks. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's like my pick-me-up. If I'm having a rough day, I'm like, oh, let me watch a YouTube video.
I am the same way. It's so true. I'm like, okay, need a little vibrational adjustment. Let's listen to Abraham Hicks.
Definitely.
Yeah, either that or music and painting and meditating. Those are the things that can help. So meditating often leads to a nap, and that's a good reset any day. So yeah.
True.
Yeah. So do you find, do you meditate actually? I should ask. I want to ask.
Yes, I have to. It's definitely, I go through phases, like I usually do it in the morning and night. That's like what I prefer. If I do skip days, I can definitely feel it. I'll feel anxious. I'm like this anxious person, so I need to like that grounds me a lot.
Mm.
So Deepak Chopra has these meditation experiences every so often. There's one coming up soon, end of October, and I'll definitely jump on that. But I have some of his recordings from the past. I've done every single one of them, and I just kind of have that on loop. Like those are the ones that I go to. Even my kids like listening to his voice. Like at nighttime when I'm putting them to bed,
That's
put Deepak
someone
Chopra.
else.
Like it's
Someone else mentioned that to me, that he does something with, is it with Oprah that he does
mm-hmm.
periodically? Is that what you're referring to too, or is this separate?
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to try it. It's really they're
How do
amazing.
we find out about it? Where do you?
It's Chopra Center Meditation. If you
Okay.
look it up online, and yeah, you can register for the next one, and they just send you. It's 21 days, so they just send you
That's
to
great.
for the 21 days, and then you can purchase like past ones, or purchase the at the end you can purchase the series.
You
But they're
said
great.
Chopra Center
Meditation.
meditation.
Yeah, it's an
Great.
app too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, excellent. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely look that up.
What meditation do you do?
Well, my story, which we haven't really talked before, but my story was that I had sort of like the midlife crisis. Yours was a little earlier than mine. And it was when it was triggered by first the loss of a job that I'd had for about 16 years. And then a year later, my 16-year-old son went to college early. So the combination of those two things really rocked things internally for me. And in the past, I had always, sort of jumped into something just to have something to fill my life. It didn't, whatever it was, and it was a very left brain decision. And I just knew that that wasn't going to cut it anymore. So I said, okay, I'm not going to jump into anything, make any major decisions until I'm unified and I'm listening to my intuition, listening to that inner wisdom. And I did start meditating. My husband is trained in transcendental meditation. He actually went to Maharishi, his school. He studied with the Maharishi. So he gave me a mantra, and but I was so ingrained in the left brain that it was very, very frustrating to me, because I just barely ever was able to get beyond that wall of thought. It was, the constant stream of thought. And then that was in like August, September of 2016. So then like 5 months after that, I had a dream, and the dream showed me that I could use painting as a spiritual practice, as a meditative tool, and as a way to manifest and predict the future. So after that, I had neglected my art supplies. I was sort of maybe in that place where you were when your kids were young and you were sketching in the bathroom. I wasn't even sketching in the bathroom. I just had all my art supplies locked away. I didn't want anyone to touch them, but I wasn't using them either. And so I broke them out, and I got out just, my pad of paper and some pencils, and I took some photos of my cat. And when I would take my son Phoenix, he's the younger of my two boys, to his basketball practice, I sat down and I started just sketching my cat, and I noticed, oh my gosh, that wall of thought just gone. So that was the beginning of my journey. And I do meditate now, and I use a mantra, but I find that painting is just about as good as meditation. So it gets
you in the zone.
It does get me in the zone, especially if I include music. I've been using a lot of sound healing when I'm painting too, and I find that incredible. And I actually sing and tone along with my painting. So it's all pretty cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so is there anything else you would like to share? I think I'm sort of done with my line of questioning for you.
Anything else I want to share? I don't know, just have fun in the process, just have fun wherever you're at, and whatever you want to create, or if you need help with anything, definitely ask for help. I think getting support, people get really intimidated by that, but I think we all go through something in our life, different phases of our life, where it's going to help you even faster,
right,
even deeper when you get, reach out for help. So yeah, just have fun with wherever you're at. Just try to make the best of it with joy. I think that's really
Yeah, I was talking with the previous interview to this interview was with a woman who does energy healing, and she was talking about just accepting all the parts of ourselves. You know, looking all those parts that we've rejected or that we're hiding. You know, we spend so much energy keeping them buried and suppressed. And she said, you know, just accepting all of that can, with love, can make things so much better and allow for healing and transformation to happen. So yeah.
Embrace the dark times too.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's so true, because they even though they're so hard when you're going through them, they lead you where you need to go. You know, all that difficulty is usually there because, for me, and at least in my experience, the things that have been difficult or challenging or health issues that I've had have been wake-up calls. You know, like, oh, okay, this needs attention, and it's the only way forward. And I think I think like the physical stuff, when there's a physical manifestation, I kind of feel like it's the soul's like last ditch effort. They're like, okay, we couldn't get through to you any other way. Here, you know,
like make you hurt a little bit.
yeah, because you're going to have to pay attention to this. You can't avoid this. So yeah.
The whispers are no longer there. The signs are no longer there. It's like you're gonna feel it.
Yeah. No, they're all there, but we're also going to give you the feeling. Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to talk with you and to get to know you a little bit. I look forward to continuing the conversation with you in other formats.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Larissa.
Thank you. All right. Stop recording.